So instead of the class opener, we're going to be working on this worksheet. It's basic 1 or 2 step inequalities. We want to do only 1 through 7, 13, 19, and 23 through 25. So let's jump right into it. Now, I think the best way to do numbers 1 through 6, which is actually matching, is to read letter A, and it says -4 times. So which one of these start with the -4 times? It's either 1 or 6. So let's continue reading. It says -4 times a number. Okay, both of those say -4 times a number, -4 times a number. But then what does it say over here? It says is less than 5. Now, whenever we see the word is, we know that that's like an equal, but when it says is less than, we know it's not an equal sign. It's actually this symbol, right? Is less than 5. Okay, so -4 times a number is less than 5. That would have to be this one. It cannot be this one, because this one would be is less than or equal to 5. So 6 belongs to A belongs to 6, right? So 6 is A. Moving on. 4/5 of a number is no more than 5. 4/5, okay, well, you need a fraction. It's either going to be 2 or 4. 4/5 of a number is what? No more than 5. So a lot of people get confused with no more than, okay? So if I say no more than 5, could it be 5? Yes. Yes, it could be 5. So that means it's a or equal to, right? But it can't be more than 5. It has to be less than 5, okay? But it could be 5 because it says no more than 5. So when we say no more than 5, it's technically saying less than or equal to. So that would be number 4. So number 4 belongs to B, or B belongs to 4. Okay. C, 4 times a number is fewer than 5. What does fewer than 5 mean? Could it be 5? No. No, it can't be 5. Fewer means less, right? So it could be 4, 3, 2. So it can't be 5, so you can't include the 5, so it's not or equal to. So it has to be fewer than 5. Again, fewer, that would mean less than. So 4 times a number is less than 5. So let's go over here. 4 times a number is less than 5. That would be number 5. 4 times a number is less than 5. So let's put that one connected to C. Moving on to D. -4 times a number is no less than 5. What the heck does that mean? Let's think about that. Is no less than 5. If we say it is no less than 5, could it be 4? No. Could it be 3? No. It's no less than 5. Could it be 5? Yes, it's including 5. So what are we really saying? We're saying that it could be 5 or above. Now, what does that mean in terms of inequalities? It could be greater than or equal to 5. So that really means no less than 5 really means greater than or equal to 5, right? So let's look for -4 times n is greater than or equal to 5. And that's that first one. -4 times n is greater than or equal to 5. And that belongs to D right there. Which other one? E, it says 4 times a number is at most 5. What does at most 5 mean? Could it be 4? No. Yeah, it could. At most 4, that means that you can't, at most 5 means you can't go over 5, right? So could it be 5 itself? Yes, at most 5. Yeah, 5. 5 is at most 5, right? But 6, then that wouldn't work because 6, it doesn't satisfy the phrase at most 5. So when we say at most 5, that means that it could be 5, but it has to be less than or equal to 5, right? At most 5 means less than or equal to 5. So 4 times the number 4n is less than or equal to 5. That would be number 3. So number 3 is E. E is 3. And the last one, 4/5 of a number is more than 5. Obviously, it's number 2. Again, 4/5 of a number is more than 5. Not more than or equal to, or is at least. No, it's more than 5. That means it cannot equal 5. That's why there's no line underneath it. I hope that kind of helps, guys. There will be a couple of multiple choice questions on the quiz tomorrow that are straight from here, okay? We also need practice on just solving inequalities. Now, let's remember, solving an inequality is almost exactly the same as solving an equation. But when you multiply or divide by a negative on your last step, you must change your inequality symbol. Okay, so let's go back to the worksheet and let's actually solve this kind of like if it were an equation. But let's just remember that detail. If you multiply or divide by a negative on your last step, you have to change the inequality symbol. So we have A right here. A is a movie star. We want to get it by itself. You don't want anything else. Let's get rid of this divided by 5. How do you get rid of the divided by 5? Multiplying by 5. Now, if you wanted to get rid of the negative sign at the same time, you could multiply by -5 both sides. It's totally up to you, right? So I'm just going to multiply by 5, times 5 here, times 5 over here. The 5's cancel. What do I have left? A negative A is less than negative 70. Of course, you guys could use calculators. So for my final step, I need to make that negative A into a positive A. So I either multiply both sides by -1 or divide both sides by -1. What do you guys want? Doesn't even matter. Divide both sides by -1. Okay, so I'm going to pretend that there's a -1 right here. And I'm going to divide by -1, divide by -1. And again, this is my last step. So my answer is A. And because I divided by a negative on my last step, that inequality has to flip. Again, it's multiple choice. They're going to give you an answer that has a less than symbol, and that would be incorrect. The correct answer is A is greater than 70. Let's move on. The next question we asked you to do was 13. So we're hardly doing any of these. I think they're too easy. They're only 1 or 2 step equations. So right here, what do we do? Multiply by 5 to get rid of the fraction. The 5's cancel. What you do to one side, you do to the other side. Let's rewrite what we have. We have a negative 3m is less than or equal to negative 30. Okay, so what do I do next? Divide by negative 3, right? If there's a multiplication of negative 3 in front of the m, I'm going to get rid of that multiplication of negative 3 by dividing by that exact value, negative 3. And what I do to one side, I do to the other side. Now, once again, guys, this is my last step. And what am I doing on my last step? I'm dividing by a negative 3. So if you divide by a negative, you have to flip the inequality symbol. So m is greater than or equal to positive 10. That's your answer. Now, if this wouldn't have been, let's say there was no negative sign here. There would be no negative sign here. I would be dividing by a positive 3. I wouldn't flip it if I were dividing by a positive 3. But again, the rules say, or the instructions on our notes say that when you multiply or divide by a negative on your last step, you must change your inequality symbol. So right there, we did multiply by a negative on our last step, or no, we divided by a negative by negative 3. So that's why we flipped the inequality symbol. It was less than, now it's greater than. Let's move on. You know, number 9 wasn't on the assigned questions, but let's look at it anyway. Because right here, how would I solve for B? What do? I have B divided by 16. So what would I do to get rid of the division of 16? Multiply by 16. And yes, the 16's cancel. What you do to one side, you do to the other. Multiply by 16 over here. So what do I have left? I have a B. And over here, a negative 6 times 16, that's negative 96. On a calculator, you could do that. And you will get negative 96 over here. Now, the question is, do I flip this inequality symbol? No. No, I do not, right? It stays the same, greater than or equal to. I do not flip the inequality symbol. Why not? Because I did not multiply or divide by a negative on my last step. The only step here, the last step here was multiplying by 16, canceled. Multiplying by 16. So I did not multiply or divide by a negative. That's why it did not change. Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, well, you did multiply with a negative. Yeah, but that wasn't the step that you did. What was your final step? Your final step was multiplying by 16. And that 16 is positive. It's not negative. See what I'm saying? So you got to ask yourself, on your last step, on what you did you actually multiply or divide by a negative? Right here, you didn't multiply by a negative. You multiplied by a positive. That's why it did not change. So I hope that clears it up, right? And I threw in number 9 because on all the other ones that I assigned, we actually did multiply or divide by a negative on the last step, and that's why we flip it. Even on number 19 right here, which was assigned, you really have a negative 15 times y. So to get rid of it, you're going to have to divide by that exact value, negative 15. And what you do to one side, you do to the other, divide by negative 15. This is your last step, so the negative 15s cancel. And you do have y, and because you divided by a negative, you have to flip that inequality symbol. Now, 3 over negative 15, 3 divided by negative 15, you can't really divide 3 by 15, so you're going to leave it like a fraction, but you could reduce it. You could reduce by 3. If you divide both top and bottom by 3, you're going to get a new fraction. That new fraction is obviously a negative, but it's 1 over 5. So that's your best answer for number 19. Again, that one did flip because we did divide by a negative. Let's jump to the word problems here. There are going to be a couple of word problems on the quiz. Of course, it's multiple choice, though. So they want you to create an inequality with a variable, obviously, and then solve it. So what does it say? It says negative 3 times a number. I could do that. That's easy. Negative 3n. That's negative 3 times a number. Now, here's the question. What does this mean? Is at least. So if I say you have to be at least 16 years old or 17 years old to go watch a rated R movie, right? I think. I don't know. So you have to be at least 17 years old to go watch a rated R movie. What does that mean? You have to be 17 or older. So 17 or greater, right? So when you see this is at least, you're really talking about greater than or equal to. All right? I hope you guys understand that. So is at least is really saying greater than or equal to 57. So let's put the 57 there. And that's your inequality. And then you have to solve it, right? So you're going to have to do two things on these types of questions on the quiz tomorrow. You're going to have to be able to read it, write it, and then solve it. So right here, it's going to be a one-step equation, pretty simple. You're going to divide by negative 3, divide by negative 3, and you will get n. Now, do I flip the symbol or keep it? Flip it because I divided by a negative. It's going to flip to a negative, less than or equal to. And 57, that's going to be divided by negative 3. It's going to be negative 19. Again, you could use a calculator so you don't have to think about that the way I did. Number 24. 2/3 of a number is no more than negative 10. That's pretty easy. 2/3, that's a fraction, 2 over 3. Of a number, you could put x, you could put n, whatever you want, is no more than negative 10. So let's think about this, guys. Is no more than. What does that mean? Like if I say you can't be more than 4 feet tall to get into this kid ride at Disneyland, right? No more than 4 feet tall. So could it be 4 feet tall? Yes. Could it be more than 4 feet tall? No. So what are we really saying? We're saying 4 feet tall or less, right? So when we say no more than, what that's really saying is less than or equal to. Okay? So we're going to say less than or equal to negative 10. So there's your inequality. And now let's solve the inequality. So what do I do first to start solving this inequality? 2/3 x is less than, multiply by 3, right? So we're going to go times 3 here, times 3 over here, cancels. Let me rewrite it over here on the side. So it's going to be 2x, it's going to be less than or equal to, what's negative 10 times 30? I mean negative 10 times 30. Negative 10 times 3 is negative 30. Did I flip that inequality symbol? Why not? Why didn't I flip it? I didn't multiply or divide by a negative. I multiplied by a positive 3. Okay. Now for my final step, what do? Divide by 2. So I'm going to divide by 2 here, divide by 2 there, and I will get x is, do I flip the symbol? No, I do not, because I'm not dividing by a negative. What am I dividing by? By positive 2. Okay, so that's why we don't flip it. So we're going to leave it, x is less than or equal to negative 15. Now I know some of you are thinking, well, we did divide by a negative. There's a negative 30 right there. You didn't divide by a negative. You had a negative number and you divided by a positive 2. So the inequality does not change. Let's move on to number 25, the last one. Let's write it out. Negative 3/5. That's easy. Negative 3 over 5 of a number. You could put n, you could put x, is less than negative 6. That's easy. Is less than, that's straight up the less than symbol. Negative 6. Okay, so what do? Multiply both sides by 5, times 5 here, times 5 there. Of course, the 5's cancel. We're going to end up with the new equation. Negative 3n is less than, I don't change it because I multiplied by positive 5, negative 30. Okay? And then from there, I need to get rid of the negative 3 that's being multiplied with the n. So I'm going to get rid of the multiplication of negative 3 by doing what? Dividing by negative 3. Dividing by negative 3. So what do we have left? We have n. We have 10. But what about that inequality? It changes to greater than. So why does it change? We divided by a negative, right? On our last step, we divided by a negative. This is the answer, guys. N is greater than 10. Oh yeah, one more thing. I totally forgot. On the multiple choice quiz tomorrow, I don't want you guys to get freaked out because they're not going to give the answer exactly like this. This is weird. Check it out. They're going to do this. They're going to put in a weird looking bracket, they're going to put N, and they're going to put a line, and then they're going to put the inequality N is greater than 10. All this is saying is that your solution set, your answers representing N are going to be all the values of N that are greater than 10. So don't trip out about this or even the brackets. This is your answer. You'll be able to see it right in there. Okay. So there's definitely going to be a lot of this on the quiz tomorrow, but we do need to turn to the next page, 5.3. There's going to be a lot of that tomorrow. And that's a lot more challenging, 5.3 WSP, because it's multi-step inequalities. As a matter of fact, I want to end this video here, and we're going to start a new video for WSP 5.3.